What's up, everybody? I just wanted to give you an update on what is going on at Equal Rights Institute. There's been a lot of changes lately. I know a lot of you know about that, so I wanted to go into a little bit more detail on what has happened, as well as what are my plans for the rest of this year, because I have some very firm plans that I didn't go into a lot of detail in the post that I wrote, and so I thought I'd go into more detail because that is what I do on these periodic update videos. Is for those of you who really want to know what's going on and don't mind it being in a 20-minute long video or whatever this is going to end up being, then this video is for you. I was hiking today at the beautiful Crabtree Falls, and so I took some beautiful pictures and video of that. So just to give you a sense of where I was today, I'm gonna put that on the screen. If you're listening to this on audio, feel free to skip forward about 30 seconds or I will start talking. Enjoy. All right, so I was going to record this there at the waterfall, but that was way too loud, and then I just couldn't find a very good place on the actual trail to record this, and I was actually exhausted from the hike, and so I waited a few hours and went to a different park just so I could record this. But I wanted you to see it's just a beautiful hike today. So, for those of you that don't know, Rachel Crawford resigned recently. She was my training director. She took Tim's place when he resigned a little over a year ago, and she did a fantastic job. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on why she resigned because Rachel doesn't prefer that I do that. She's a pretty private person, but no one's in trouble. No one got fired. No one got canceled. It was hilarious to me that someone on Facebook thought maybe Rachel got canceled. I know we're in cancel culture, but my goodness. If anyone was getting canceled, it wasn't going to be Rachel. It would probably be me because I make pro-life videos and I am a white, cis, straight male. So no one got in trouble. It was just a very simple Rachel ready to move on to other things and made that choice. And so that's the sad news. And then the great news that I announced at the same time is that I've already found her replacement, this awesome person named Emily Albrecht, who you have possibly seen before. There's a really cool video that I shot and released late last year with her and another student at St. Olaf College, Meredith. Just kind of talking about how ERI has changed their club, has changed their campus, has changed their lives. And so I reached out to Emily because she was the only one I could think of that could be a great replacement for Rachel. And I couldn't believe it when a couple of weeks later, after some, prayer and thinking about it, she said yes. And so she's got 2 more semesters to go. She needs a support raise. So I'm expecting her to really come on staff next summer. So the long term, you don't need to worry about ERI. We are going to be fine. Emily doesn't have all of Rachel's skills. She doesn't have all of Tim's skills, but she's also coming in with skills that neither of them had. And so it's just different. I don't really want to be comparing them. They're just different, but similar in all the really important ways. She really gets ERI. She really gets our content. She's really a great evidence that what we do works because she's really only come into the pro-life movement with the material that we've created. She wasn't one of the students that they took a bunch of, from different apologists or different other kind of groups. They pretty much were just doing our course and then had really great results. So it's really cool to work with someone who really came into this with our materials and not just the arguments that we teach, but also the attitudes that we teach. And I think that has had just such a great impact on their campus. And so it's like, yes, this is going to be really hard for me in the short term. I'm going through a dark tunnel of being mega understaffed while trying to kind of keep up the pace. And I'll talk a little bit more specifically about that in a minute. But it's like, yes, while I'm now going through this dark tunnel, there's this beautiful light at the end of the tunnel, right? This is just the way that I always think about it. And it's a beautiful, saturated, bright light. It's an excellent light, And so it's really going to be awesome, but it's going to be hard for the next year or so because I've gone from having 3.5 content creators, meaning Andrew Cake is not a half a person, he's a full person, but he's only a part-time staff person, so that's what I mean. If you include me, which I don't really count as a full-time content person either because I spend most of my time building the machine and making it run well and speaking and helping our staff and things like that. So really count me as a part-time content person too. So really we had 3 full-time content people, if you really want to think about it that way, a little over a year ago, and now we're down to 1. We've lost 2 full-time content people. And so that's kind of scary. But here's my plan. For the next, at least until the end of 2020, I've got 3 really big goals that I'm going to be focusing on. And I'm confident that I can accomplish all of them, at least with some success. So one of those is I want to maintain a consistent publishing schedule. I don't know if that publishing schedule, this is what I've been calling our new normal, for this last year that I was trying to get us to, which we did hit and we were doing awesome at. And then I lost a content person. We were doing really well and consistently with that. And so there's a little bit of a question mark right now of, can I keep up that schedule and run the machine and keep everything going and fundraise and do the other 2 goals? I might have to slow one of our things down. So I really think of us as publishing 3 kinds of things. One of those is articles, and we also do podcasts, which all those podcasts are video podcasts now, and so you've got an audio option and a video option if you prefer that. And then also standalone videos. So just like videos made for YouTube, and that can be short listener mail videos, and I want to do more of those, or kind of just like apologetics videos. They can be longer things like what we just published on the abortion as self-defense argument. It can just be a lot of things like that. So we really publish these 3 kinds of things, and I might have to slow one of them down. All that to say, even if we got to slow one thing down a little bit, we're going to still be putting out a lot. I don't want to slow way down, even though we're down a staff person. But there are some other things that we want to do. The second thing we want to do is affect more people. We want to be helping more people. Generally speaking, right now is this time where we have all of this really high quality content that is really helping people. You see people like Emily and other people that send me emails about how we're their favorite pro-life group, or we've really helped them to have better conversations with pro-choice people, better than the other groups that they've worked with. And it's like, okay, that's great. The content that we're creating is really helping people, but it's not helping enough people. I am not satisfied with the number of people that we're helping. And so I want to see our download numbers go up, our YouTube views go up. I want to see our social media numbers go up. It's just to be helping more people. I'm not interested in like any statistics that are just like, they're not very meaningful. It's like Facebook video impressions. It's like this classic example. Facebook will tell you how many impressions your video got, but they're including like people who are like scrolling by and stop for a couple of seconds. So like that's kind of one of these classic numbers that people will sometimes use to brag, but it doesn't mean a lot. But I just want to be helping people, more people. And so we're working on trying to figure out, effective ways to market ourselves online, which is something that we haven't done a ton of, and I know that we can do better at, so we can hopefully just grow the audience, not just to raise more money, not just to be able to say, look, we've got more social media followers. No, because I really, really want more people to have the effect that people like Emily and the other students at St. Olaf have had. So that's priority number 2. Priority number 3, and I didn't talk about this in that post, but I'm excited to tell you, and I feel comfortable telling you because it is really happening. We are pretty deep into this project, and it's obvious to me that this is the most important thing I could be doing with any other time that I have, is to be improving the Equipped for Life course. And there's a lot of improvements I want to make to the Equipped for Life course. And we haven't done a lot of that lately. We've added a few things. We added a webinar archives because we've been making these webinars, and we thought, especially since we took most of the podcast episodes out of that and moved it to like a public podcast feed, I wanted to kind of replace it with some other exclusive thing. And so that's the webinars. Most like the webinars we do are never up for more than a week or 2. But they will go here as a place where if you want to hear that Q&A session or that content, then that's a place for people. So we've added a few things that were just like videos that we made for YouTube, but are just like a really important part of a complete, systematic approach to our approach to apologetics. That was a weird sentence, but whatever. You get what I'm talking about. But there's things that I want to improve. And so there's one that I really have my sights on for this year. And we're pretty deep into the pre-production part of this, but we want to completely reshoot the module where we teach the equal rights argument. This is arguably one of the most important modules in the entire course, because this is the argument that we have found to be so persuasive. If you can learn this argument well, you can make such a difference using it when you're talking to your pro-choice friends. And when we filmed the course, it's about 4 years ago now, we filmed it basically the way that we were teaching it in our seminars. And it had gone through multiple iterations, but us and Justice for All were all teaching the argument relatively the same way. There were some differences, but it wasn't hugely different at the time. And there's this interesting thing that's happened where Justice for All and us all realized in the last several years that it's still, that there were needed improvements so that this could become even more clear to people. Some of the people we were teaching were really getting it. The St. Olaf Club gets it. They're using the equal rights argument super well. But then some students would hear it and they would still have a hard time replicating what we were talking about in their dialogue. So that's no good. And so Justice for All, to their credit, they went and kind of reworked their section and they came up with a kind of a new process. And our team went to work creating a new process, and we did some really cool brainstorm sessions with Justice for All, especially Steve Wagner over there. We're still really good friends, and we just both care a lot about this. And we don't really care, so there's no territorialness, that's not a word, between us. Like, I had told him, like, if it turns out that the way that they're teaching is the best way to teach this, like, I'll just have Steve come on and teach it on our course. Like, that's cool. Let's have pro-life groups partner together and do good things together. Ultimately, after a lot of talks with them and then a lot of our talks with our own philosophy team, we ended up coming up with a different process. We wanted some differences with what we were doing and what JFA was doing. Again, not just because we want it to be different for its own sake, just because like we have some mild disagreements about like just the most helpful way to teach. So we've created a new process, and we are pretty deep into the writing of the script so that we can teach it. So my next step is trying to teach it to some people. This is actually really good advice that Steve gave me, which is make sure you teach it to some people before you shoot it, which was a really good reminder because I might not have done that. Or at least I would have been willing to go shoot it because I'm so excited to film a more helpful version of this, which is just going to happen. The Equip for Life course is just going to be a sort of a living, breathing organism document kind of thing because we're constantly learning from, when we're testing on campus or in the conversations that we have with pro-choice people, like we're always learning things. We've learned so much since we first shot the Equip for Life course. This is just the most important thing to rework. And so I want to record that new module this year and put it out. So a few other priorities that I have for the Equip for Life course, or I'll just give you one more. I've got a bunch in my head, but I don't want to tell you too many things. But I'll tell you, I also want to record example dialogues. So I've already invited a friend of mine to do that. I'm not going to say who it is just because if it doesn't work out, then I'll pick someone else, and I don't want that person feeling like the second, the backup person or whatever. But that's also, I think, really important. It's just a lot of people just need to hear us put these things together. We recorded some podcasts where we did some kind of improv role play dialogues, and so definitely listen to those. There's some people have said those are the most helpful podcast episodes we've ever put out because some people just need that. It's like, hey, how do you put these pieces together? How do you transition between the things? How often do you find common ground? Like that kind of thing. And some of that comes down to style. I've got my own style. Rachel kind of had a different style, and that'll happen. That's fine. But I want to have an example dialogue, basically in at least one in every apologetics module of the course. So I'm going to try to get this filmed this year too. We'll see. That's a little bit more sketchy if we can pull that off, but it'll be really, really good. And then I've got some other plans for the Equip for Life course. That'll probably all of those. I just need to resign myself to that'll be in 2021. But really, really good improvements. Because again, we have learned a lot since 2016, and we're going to keep on learning. There's going to be more things that we reshoot in the future because we want to keep on making this course as helpful as we can, and we're just going to learn more things. And luckily now we have the video equipment that it's actually pretty easy to shoot this stuff. Post-production can take a while, which is why I'm trying to find some help for that, but really at this point the pre-production is the hard part. The writing or either the outline or writing the script, that's the hard part now. It is so easy for me to walk into the studio, turn on the cameras and lights, dial in the settings, and just go. And post-production's pretty easy too. I've been working on getting faster on that. I'm, learning all the keyboard shortcuts and stuff just so I can really streamline that, and I enjoy that. And so, yeah, my 3 priorities again are to continue publishing a lot of helpful content, articles, videos, podcasts. I've already got like the next 5 podcast recording sessions lined up, like scheduled, the guests. Most of those already have outlines. So like I've got some really cool podcast episodes coming up for you. We're going to try to grow our audience. We're going to try some different things and see what works, but try to figure out how do we help more people? That's just really important to us. And then also this reshoot of the Equipped for Life course module on the equal rights argument is something that we've been spending a lot of time on. This is one of the best leadership decisions I've probably ever made. Was in my final couple of weeks with Rachel was having her spend the majority of her time helping write this new module. I told her, like, try to take this as close to being ready to shoot as you can, because she was really involved in figuring out how we wanted to teach this. And I just know that I'm overwhelmed in all the different things going on and what I need to do. Just like my task list is just this very scary long thing. And so she did a really, really great job on that. She really kind of went out with a bang, getting some of these lessons already have not exactly scripts, but they're pretty close to scripts. They're drafts of scripts, let's say, and I'll do some editing and a little bit of rewriting, but they're pretty close. And so I know that's happening this year. It's just a matter of finding the time. So now that I've kind of told you where we're headed and what's going on, let me tell you what I would do if you donated, okay? Like if you increased your monthly donation, or if you're not usually one of our donors and you wanted to give, there's a thing that I'm doing with that money, or there's a thing that, if it's not just like paying our normal bills, there's a way that your donations, and it doesn't even have to be really, really big, can really help us, which is helping me with the fact that we are really, really understaffed right now. And so there's a couple of different things that I'm trying to outsource right now, and the main one is video editing. I enjoy video editing. This is not a thing where it's like, I don't like video editing and I don't think this is a good use of my time. I mean, that's kind of part of it. Like, it's probably not the best use of my time, but I enjoy it. I actually like video editing, especially things like the Apologist Reacts videos. I have a ball editing those and getting those set up and putting those out. So it's more just, it's clearly not the best use of my time. If I can be working on an improvement to the Equipped for Life course that can really help people, or writing articles like this, like stuff that's coming out of my head based on experiences that I've had, or things that I want to teach people to help them. I need to be able to focus more of my time on that. And given that I'm going to have to be creating more content than we did before, which I think is going to be a good thing, I need to find things that I can outsource. And so video editing is a clear one. I've got a guy locally that I'm trying out, hiring him on a per project basis to get him helping with that. Just outsourcing some things just to kind of help keep things going and lighten the load off of me. That's basically what I would be doing with increased donations, is having money kind of set aside into a fund that I could use to pay contractors to help lighten the load now that Rachel's not here and Emily's not going to be here until at least next summer. And because I don't want to slow down. I want us to keep on pushing forward with the plans that we've had, and try to have the fact that Rachel is not here affect us as minimally as possible, because I know that's what you want too. You don't want us slowing down and being like, well, we're down a staff person, now we've got this really kind of tiny skeleton crew, and so we're going to be satisfied with, one video a month or one article a month and just call it good. Like, that's not what you want, it's not what I want, but I'm going to need some help. And paying contractors to help with some of the things that I do is probably the least expensive way to do that. And so that's something that I'm exploring right now and could really use your help. And so your donations would be really helpful. We're doing okay. We had some people drop, I think probably just temporarily because of COVID. I know that it's still going on for a lot of you. If you are affected financially by COVID, please understand, I don't hold it against you if you're not donating, or if you had to drop off. I know that you love us. I know that you want us to succeed. And I think it is really understandable when people are out of work to stop donating places temporarily. Like, that makes total sense. So if you're one of those lucky people who still has work, that is what I would do with your donations, and it would really, really help us a lot. Thank you so much for caring about us. Sorry, I know the video just went out. My memory card just maxed out, so I know I'm only recording audio right now. But thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.